Hey guys, I decided to make a video today to give an update about a direction that I'm been thinking about in the back of my mind for a while, but have not had the support to to sort of like get some traction on it, or to begin to get traction. So, if you don't know, I have returned to Atlanta from being on the road for a couple of years. I traveled a lot in the West and in the Midwest, and was involved in writing about and covering the oil protests in the Native American reservations and land out out there. So the process of changing inside my soul during that period was a very turbulent and tumultuous one. However, it is giving me, now that I'm back in Atlanta and I have a lot more stability regarding like basic things like shelter, food, access to mental health care, things like that, that I'm beginning to be able to put something together regarding like a plan for my future. So specifically, I wanted to address today in this video that plan and that idea of what I want to do with the rest of my life, kind of thing. Now that I'm home and essentially out of money and really tired of traveling, so kind of want to close that chapter, I guess you could say. So coming back to Atlanta has been initially very hard for me because I pretty much as soon as I got here was hospitalized, not once but actually four times in the last maybe 9, 10 months for bipolar mania. But really, what was the core of what led to the hospitalizations was not that, but trauma, and specifically what they clinically call PTSD, or post traumatic stress disorder. More than anything, though, a lot of what it is I've been a man without a mission for a lot of years. I have a very high IQ, but I have struggled to find a place in society after being put through a very stressful graduate school time at Berkeley in 2000s, and the episode at MIT, a university that stripped me of my career, my ability to work in the field that I had been trained in, which was chemistry. So for about the last 10 years, I've kind of wandered, sometimes aimlessly, oftentimes depressed and in darkness, wondering a lot of things that I've addressed in poetry and blogging and writing and books. But now that that's kind of done in a way, I won't say it's done, but it's a chapter that I want to close. I'm looking to the future and trying to build on those two aspects of my background as an adult. So coming back to Atlanta, like yesterday in my therapist's office, I was actually describing how Atlanta is not really one city, but it's two cities. So the north part, you can think of it as like the white city, and the south part, you can think of it as like the black city. Now, I know that's a little bit simplistic, and I know that a lot of people have trouble with these racial metaphors a lot of times. But just for the sake of argument, let's just say that the south part of Atlanta is has a set of issues that people deal with, and it's the legacy of slavery in the South, and it's the social legacy and history that you cannot erase from people's minds. And one of the strengths of Atlanta is that Atlanta is a hub, not just nationally or statewide, but internationally, in regards to that that community. So when I was sitting in my therapist's office yesterday, I was able to talk freely about feeling more connected to South Atlanta or the black part of Atlanta than where I grew up and were based on my skin color, which was the north white part of the city. So, in terms of the future and how I think about planning out my future, this is going to weigh very heavily because even though I grew up here in the city, which is the city of Atlanta, I don't know half my city, or I don't know the city on the south side really. I didn't grow up there. I was not part of the community. So, in a way, what I was talking about to my therapist yesterday was the process of discovering something entirely new about something I seem to feel initially, or what looks like on the surface to be familiar, meaning my home city. So right now, I'm looking at making specific plans for actions to build a career to get off Social Security disability. Currently, I get a little bit of money every month, about $1,000 or so, from the Social Security office because of the number of hospitalizations I've had, the diagnosis of mental illness, of bipolar and PTSD. And that money is enough to begin to piece together some kind of life after losing pretty much everything and kind of wandering in that darkness for a while. But it's not enough to sustain any kind of life that you would want to live really in America, right? So I'm, as I was saying to my therapist yesterday, I'm thinking about rationally breaking apart the process of reintegrating to where I grew up in an entirely new community, which would be the black part of the city, the South Atlanta. And specifically, I think that the last 10 years have given me a strong base of experiences with which to connect to people in that community. And I'm going to make some videos in the next couple days describing what probably you could call a vision for my future in regards to that. So, particularly, I want to address one thing, which is being practical with regards to money. So, one thing that I know from being poor the last 10 years and really not having a stable source of income is how hard life can be with no resources or access to capital. It is very difficult to live. When you're wondering where your next place to sleep is every night, or when you're wandering around with no stability in terms of land or access to basic human resources for life, things get really hard. Things that seem very simple to people with that access become very difficult. And based on what I have in terms of intelligence, like innate intelligence, I believe I can be a great resource to that part of my city where everyone is in that situation. And at the end of the day, I want to be around people that I can connect to so that I can fulfill needs in the community where I can get compensation, right? So that's really the basis of integrating into a community, is being able to have a common set of interests to create transactions that lead to making a living, that you bring in money, you have businesses and things like that. So I wanted to stop this video because it's about 10 minutes, but I'm going to make more content today and I'll let you go.